What are you
What
finding?
I Well, I found an enormous overlap between a number of conditions. Like I'd already referred to EHS and MCS, electrical hypersensitivity syndrome. Like 70% of MCSs seem to have EHS. So, that was the EHS overlap. And then there's chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia syndrome, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and some people just call a condition chemical sensitivity rather than multiple chemical sensitivity. And yet, they're recognizing CS as separate from MCS. Anyhow, I just found that in my research. And then there was Gulf War syndrome, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME, the Vietnam veteran health problems, lupus, irritable bowel syndrome, yes, and even Lyme. And what I was finding was there was all this siloed research happening. So in other words, all the researchers on these other conditions were just studying each condition on its own. So the tendency for the study group in these studies were to, for example, if I was looking at chronic fatigue syndrome, then I'd possibly exclude people with MCS and all these other conditions so that it would be only chronic fatigue. So instead of using 100 people with a variety of these symptoms, they'd narrow it down just to 10 people or something that they perceived was not an overlap or confounding with another condition, just to research that on its own. And that's the tendency in science today. We want to compartmentalize everything and keep it down, just to studying one thing at a time. And that is yet the other aspect of this whole chemical exposure versus health problem. Whenever a chemical product is produced, or even one chemical on its own, then it's just tested on its own for health effects. And if you're going to test one chemical on its own, what endpoints are you going to test it for?